And make sure the mic got turned off.
Yeah, everything else is good. All right, hello everybody, both in person and online. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We at Left Bank Books are delighted to welcome internationally renowned speaker, DJ, and author Amani Roberts, here to discuss his new book, The Quiet Storm, a historical and cultural analysis of the power, passion, and pain of R&B groups. So some notes before we begin. Tonight's event is only possible because of your support. When you shop at Left Bank Books, either in store or from our website, your money goes directly into our local economy. So it helps to keep our streets paved and our parks beautiful and everything else that we love about St. Louis. So thank you so much for keeping your money right here in town and supporting us. It also allows us to get authors like this the support that they deserve. So thank you all so much for being here. We at Left Bank Books are always working to plan new events for readers of all ages. So you can check out our full event calendar at left-bank.com. There is sure to be something for everybody. For tonight's event, Amani Roberts is a renowned speaker, author, and DJ, specializing in unlocking creativity within hospitality and music professionals. With a master's from Berklee College of Music, he has performed globally, co-released remix EPs, and hosted podcasts. An award-winning professor at CSU Fullerton, collaborates with industry giants such as Marriott and Forbes. His new book is The Quiet Storm, a historical and cultural analysis of the power, passion, and pain of R&B groups. Perfect for R&B enthusiasts, music historians, and anybody who has ever felt the pull of a soulful ballad, Quiet Storm is a walk through music history. It is filled with personal anecdotes and emotional stories, and it's a definitive guide to R&B that will help music lovers rediscover the magic that makes R&B music unforgettable. So here to tell us more about this book, as well as his career, please give a very warm welcome to Amani Roberts.
Thank you. Thank you. Round of applause. I'm just kidding. Thanks for having me. Hello to everyone who's watching online and then in person. Thank you for coming. I just want to tell you a couple stories about how I wrote the book, the inspiration, and then we'll take Q&A and go from there. So I remember one time, I was probably 11 years old, and I was waiting for the radio to play this one song. And at first, when I heard the group, I thought it was Jackson 5, but it was really New Edition. And I was waiting for them to play this song right here. We're going to play it for you. That's Candy Girl. You know the song? You heard it before? Okay, good. Good little Q&A. So yeah, so Candy Girl by New Edition. And I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, so I had to go between 93.9, WKYS, 96.3 WHUR, our university's radio station, and I think there was a station at the time, OK 100, 100.3. So I flipped to the stations, waiting to get the song recording. This was back in the day when you had to get the tape deck, wait for the DJ to stop talking, hit record, and when the next song came in, hit stop or whatever. And I finally got it. And that was probably one of the first times where I really understood how much R&B music meant to me. And that started kind of my journey with it there. So that was a song. Eventually I got it. New Edition, Candy Girl. They were almost the first concert I ever went to, but I got scared and told my dad to take me home. But that's my first story about kind of getting introduced to R&B music. And the second story is, I'll make sure I find the song here. I have my little device here where I can play the music. Is that when I would wake up in the morning, especially on the weekends, my dad would play a lot of music. He played George Duke, he played Isley Brothers, he played Kool and the Gang. And there was this one Kool and the Gang song that I love. And I'll play it for you right now. See if you remember it. Tell me if you know the name. Oh, yes. Why don't you hear the music on? So I was Get Down on It by Kool and the Gang. And I think when I used to collect 45, which are the little records. So I had Rick James, I had the theme to Peanuts, and I had this song by Kool and the Gang. Those were my first three right there. So that's kind of my introduction to R&B music. A lot of people ask how the book kind of came to be. So as you mentioned, I went to Berklee College of Music and I had to decide on a thesis project. and I was debating between two topics. One was why there are no longer any saxophone solos in songs, because Kenny G kind of killed that, unfortunately. And the second was what happened to all the black R&B groups, because they basically disappeared once all the members of Destiny's Child went solo. And so I decided that topic, and I did research. I actually had my students. This was starting in June 2020, so middle of the pandemic. So my students who were off in the summer didn't really have anything to do. They helped me with the research. My students from Cal State University Fullerton, I teach music business there, and they helped me do research. So we researched each decade from the 50s to 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and mid 2000s. We have 4 criteria. The first criteria was Billboard Hot 100 hits. The second was record sales. The third one was notable performances, and then Grammy nominations or wins. And we put notable performances in there because back in the day, if you saw an R&B group, pretty much a black group, play on like a Tonight Show at the Kennedy Center, that was very rare. It was a notable performance. And so we did all the calculations, and in the book you'll see each decade has about 10 or 11 groups, and they're pretty much in alphabetical order, and that's how we rated them all. So that's what the research project was. Then at the end, I talked about why did they disappear, or the causes, what could we expect next, make a little prediction there. So that was kind of the research portion of it, and that's kind of how the book was born, so to speak. And then we go through, and we have a little bit of trivia questions that we asked. And a lot of things like, there's some groups, like if I was to ask, let me think of a good trivia question. So there's one group, I'll see if you know, any of you know. There's one group in history that's had hits in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So it's an R&B group. You have any ideas what group that could be? Take some guesses. Billboard Hot 100 hits in 6 straight decades, a record that has not yet been done again, so to speak. What groups come to mind?
I'm a Motown fan, but that rhythm and blues.
Yeah. So it's kind of, they were signed to Motown briefly, but then they left because they didn't get enough attention. So, and Motown is mentioned heavily in the book because it dominated like the late 50s, 60s, and 70s. So what groups coming to mind?
I'm not sure who got 4 Tops.
Close. 4 Tops is close. Let's see if I have one of their songs here. I think I have one of the songs for you, actually from my computer. So we'll do that. So it's Ozzy Brothers. And so what people don't realize is that they had a really big hit in '59 called Shout. It was really made big from the movie Animal House, because someone redid it. I think you make me want to shout. Like that was the Ozzy Brothers in '59. And they kind of shifted their music style to a little bit more like R&B, because they were really they started off as like a rock band. They were really heavy in rock. So that's the one group in the '50s that really, I love the Ozzy Brothers. They're actually one of the most sampled groups in hip hop history. Like they can sample forever, thousands of samples. So that's one group when you take it to the '50s. Come on in, let's go. Yeah. Good. We're broadcasting live. One person. Okay, hold on. See, we're just happy to be here. I know. And so I'm asking a little trivia. So if you know the trivia coming, feel free to answer.
Okay.
Right. So we have, then the Motown. So who's your favorite group from Motown? You can give me a top 3.
Temptations.
Yes, they're in the book.
The Supremes.
Okay, let's talk about the Supremes. Give me another one, and we'll talk about the Supremes.
Jackson 5.
Okay. So I'll tell you some stories. I'll tell stories. So the Supremes, they went up to Berry Gordy. He didn't like him at first. So this is probably not news. He didn't like him at first. So the only thing he allowed them to do was to clap their hands on songs for like over a year, just hand claps. Then he finally let them sing backup. So they sing backup on hundreds of songs, and then they release their music. And their first 8 songs were not successful. They had a nickname within Motown. Do you remember the nickname? Do you know? Okay. So, okay. So their nickname was the No Hit Supremes. So imagine, as successful as the Supremes were, they were called the No Hit Supremes at first. But then they had one song hit number 23 in the Billboard charts. They were doing well. And inside they had this song that was their first number one hit. So that was the first number one hit. Now, do you have a favorite Supreme song?
No.
Not really? Not one? Yeah, the Supremes. Okay, see, I think, do I have that one here? No, I don't have that one, but this is one. I'm not changing. So that was like them. So they went on an unprecedented run where 11 of the next 14 singles went to number one. That's been done since. Like that's very rare. So the Supremes, obviously they became the hit Supremes for the company. So that's the Supreme story. Now, you mentioned the Jackson 5. Do you know who first saw the Jackson 5 in action? So not Aretha, you're very close though. It was Gladys Knight. So Gladys Knight, the Pips, she saw them and she called and said, "You need to sign them." And so that's a cool story because they were on the Chitlin circuit. And we know the Chitlin circuit was when most of these groups would play in the South, like black-owned venues, because they weren't really allowed to play in the white venues, which means that's what factors the notable performance. So they were on the Chitlin circuit. Gladys Knight saw them, said, "You need to sign them," and eventually he did. Now the Jackson 5 never won a Grammy, which is one of the more shocking things I discovered doing the research for this book. Never won a Grammy, and that's why, if you remember, for Off the Wall, what Michael Jackson did when he Grammys for that, because of the fact that Jackson 5 didn't win, that he didn't win, he was like, they were really, really, really upset. They thought he broke through the Thriller, but that can give you some context for that. Now, I mentioned Gladys Knight, but you have a favorite Gladys Knight song? Kelly, you can answer too.
No, we went to the concert.
Yeah. So one of their most famous songs is which song is one of the most famous songs? Yes. We're going to Midnight Train to Georgia. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I love the story about how this, you want to sing it for us? Like that. So, so this song was written by Jim Weatherly. So he used to play flag football with Lee Majors, who starred in the $6 Million Man.
Mhm.
And at the same time, Lee Majors was dating who? You remember who he used to date and she married for a brief time? He dated Farrah Fawcett. He married Farrah Fawcett. So Jim calls Lee Majors up one day just to talk about stuff, maybe flag football, and Farrah Fawcett answers the phone. And so they kind of talk, and he's like, "Well, what are you up to?" And she's talking, she says, "I want to take a midnight plane to Texas to visit my family." So he wrote that down, turned midnight plane to Texas to midnight train to Georgia, gave it to Cissy Houston first, who recorded it as a country song. Then Last Night in the Pips remade it, became one of the most 100 greatest songs in history. I love that story. That's Gladys Knight right there. She's still going strong. I think her first Grammy came in the 80s. So she had been singing since like when the group had been together, like the late 50s or like 60s. And she didn't get her first Grammy until the mid 80s for Love Overboard, which was her hit. And so she was a rarity because she was a female lead singer in an African American group in the 60s. That was very rare. She's been going ever since. So that's why we love Gladys Knight right there. So like the book's got tons of stories like that. I'm trying to think of what other stories I could share. Okay, so we talked about Kool and the Gang. So Kool and the Gang, they were doing well, but they reached kind of a plateau. Yes. Okay, so one of my favorite Kool and the Gang songs is this one right here. This is the heavily sample too. That's Summer Madness right there. And they eventually reached a plateau where they could only get to number 4 in the charts. This was the song that got to number 4 in the chart. Yeah. So they reached a plateau and they didn't really understand how they could get to number 1. Those
So what about
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. So they had to collaborate with two people. They had to get a new lead singer, JT Taylor, and they got this Brazilian producer, Amir Diodata. And the next song after that was request right here. Really? So fun fact. This was their only number one hit. They had 26 Billboard Hot 100 hits, but this was their only number one. So they had Celebrate, and this is on the main charts where all the genres are. They have country, rock, pop, hip hop, R&B, everything. That was their one number one. But they had a couple other like number two and number three songs, like this one here. So this was a big hit for them. Sing along. This one too. That one. So that was kind of what allowed them to get over the top in terms of collaborating with others and everything like that. Then another kind of fact I like to talk about is kind of reinvention. And I'll talk about resilience, and then we'll go to Q&A. So like I mentioned, New Edition, Candy Girl. Were you here? Oh, you weren't here.
No, not
Okay.
on it.
Okay. Okay. So this one right here, remember? That's Candy Girl. So do you remember what group came from New Edition? So Ralph Treasure went solo, Johnny Gill went solo, Bobby Brown had long gone solo,
Yeah.
and this group came from New Edition. Do you remember? Yeah. We're gonna have to take. We're gonna have to take your car. Yeah. So this group came from New Edition. This was their hit song, right here.
Oh.
Thank you. Yes, Spell Good DeVoe.
Yeah.
My favorite double is this. I'm a slow jam kind of guy, as you know, so I love this one. That's the one I see you smiling at. So what they did is like they actually had so New Edition, something they need that in the research. Never won a Grammy. Only one of their members has been nominated for a Grammy. Bless you. You know that Bobby Brown for Every Little Step You Take. But no one else in the group has won a Grammy. And the actual Poison reached, I think, number 2 on the charts. And New Edition's biggest hit was actually Hit Me Off, which came many albums later. Yes, that's a charting single. So it's just really strange how it works there. But they were the one group that I think kind of was like discounted, or they just didn't get as much. I love them, swing on bias. But
They didn't get anything with Can You Stand the Rain? Because that is like the
well, as a matter of fact, we'll
on
pull it up here.
I got
It is.
the
Well, let's go to the chapter, then we can go. A true professor here. Hold on. So we'll go to the New Edition, which is in the 80s. Here they are. Let me see here. We'll go to New Edition. So their highest charting song, Hit Me Off, which reached number 3 in 96. And then Cool It Now reached 4 in 84. That's it. And then you go to Velvet DeVoe. Hold on. We'll go to DeVoe. We'll go to, where's it here? Poison reached number 3, 90. Doobie reached number 3 in 1990. And those are their biggest hits. So yeah, it's just interesting for them. So that's New Edition. And then the last one, okay. The Whispers fan, you like the Whispers?
I think that's fine.
Not before you, this is our time. We're the same age. Don't say that.
The Whispers.
Yeah, so Whisper, well, they started off before your time. You can't say that. Don't say that. So, their first hit single, 1964. Okay, so that's before our time. Yes, okay. But it took them 15 years to get their first Billboard Hot 100 Top 20 hit. I'm sure you'll remember this song right here. Okay, so yes. And then he goes on, that was 1979. So you would think that right after that, they would get to be their top 10 hits. That was going to the Billboard Hot 100 Top 10 hit. But it took them 8 years after that to get their hit, which was which song?
You know. All right.
Yes. So they got 1987. So I always talk about like 23 years it took them to get from their start to their goal. And then they continue. I think when Will Smith sample and the beat goes on, they got a little bit of a resurgence kind of in the late 90s too. So I love their story about resilience. Like they had a really good story about resilience. And yeah, and then I guess the biggest group, the 90s was probably the heyday. Like when we were in college, it was probably the heyday because you had like TLC, SWV, Boyz II Men, Jodeci. Who else were the big groups?
I mean,
In Vogue, like this song here. I love this song here. Where is it? Hold on. Go ahead. Which one were you going to say?
well, it's not a group. I was going to talk about 6'7" Campbell. He had that
Yeah.
one. The one.
In Vogue. So they're big. Now, fun fact about them, so they never had a number one hit. They always came in number two because they were competing against like Boyz II Men, Mary J. Blige, Mariah Carey, all the groups and people. So that's the 90s. And the 2000s, it was really once Destiny's Child, they kind of released this one at 99. We were in Miami.
Say my name. No one is around you. Say, baby, I love you.
That's my favorite Destiny's Child song. But once they went solo, like mid 2000s, that was a wrap for the genre in terms of groups. There's been groups that have come around, but not nearly to the success that we've seen in like the 90s. And so, yeah,
That was the biggest time for us.
yes, agreed. Yes, and we didn't realize how good we had
And we
it
did not.
because we thought it would just last forever.
That's what we thought. And now we're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, if you only knew.
Yeah, it's different. And it's not that we're like old people get off our lawn.
Mhm.
It's just a fact.
It's a fact.
It's a fact. And so I talk about what happened. We talk about the fact that remember we used to grow up with like Ebony, Essence, Jet, Vibe. Those publications all went away.
Source.
The
Mhm.
Source, they all went away, and those were the primary earning media for like groups and the hip hop, whatever. Now hip hop had some magazines that took their place, but for R&B, like Ebony, Essence, and Jet were really big.
We also had Cosby Show in a Different World.
Okay, Cosby Show, different words. If you want to stick to TV, you also had like the Arsenio Hall show, which was big and put them on. Who kind of replaced Arsenio Hall? No one. You also had Ed Living Color, too. No one. So you see all these things going away and not being replaced is an issue. So it's like, well, who or what's going to replace them now? Nobody yet. Then you had the Telecommunications Act of 1996 was supposed to diversify radio. Instead, it had the opposite effect where radio went playlisting. So like, I'm in Vegas, I get the same songs this morning that I heard just today in St. Louis. If I go to DC next week, you have the same songs because 3 companies own radio stations: iHeartMedia, Town Square Media, and Cumulus Media. They go to playlisting. So that's a problem because TLC came out really big from what city?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Shy came out really big from what city?
DC.
DC. They went to Howard, Boyz II Men.
Philly.
Philly. See how you know this? Like, Destiny's Child.
Texas.
Houston. Texas. Yes. Those songs too. Yeah. Even like the Supremes. Detroit. So it took away the local flavor where groups would get big and then go national. That's kind of changed now. And then just the way we consume music is very different. That's a whole other subject. So those are some of the reasons I talk about in the book. And I'm trying to think what else. Man, giving you a good bit. Any questions? We have Q&A. We can do Q&A ourselves. What questions do we have?
How do you like St. Louis?
St. Louis has changed when I was here
Oh, we're here.
a long time ago. We were talking like 98. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
I think we maybe a brief top of the
So we
discussion.
had a tornado not too long ago, so you're still seeing some debris and stuff like around there. In the city.
But overall, like I was thinking, this is not the Euclid that I'm used to.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. We gotta go to the other side for that.
Mhm.
So if you have any questions on the YouTube, you can ask that. What else? That's all. I just got here this morning, so I'm still experiencing.
When do you leave?
It was like Friday night, Saturday morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't have any questions.
Okay, don't have to. Any questions from the rest of the people? Or we can just sit here and talk. Here we got all our songs here.
What is that? You're using?
Okay, so this is called a stream deck. It attached to the computer. It allows me to program in songs. Like I was playing you some songs there. I can also program it to like here's TLC.
Is it set like is there an order on it? So if you press it, has to get an order, can you change?
I can change them around like when I go to software.
That's kind of cool.
And then I can also program, like say, you can open up a specific website, all sorts of things. But I use it for the music because usually I have my turntables, but I gotta have like a really compact setup. So, you know, I have like, it's all the music kind of put in there, whatever. It helps with both like this. If we're at a small venue, but I still want to bring the music, it really is easy to set up.
So do you still DJ?
Yes, I actually DJ, what is it, Sunday night, I was at a lounge in Las Vegas. So I usually do a lot of like corporate events, and I do some like do this one kind of restaurant lounge once every month or so in Vegas. Don't really many big clubs anymore, and I'll do private events, corporate events, and then like say for example, if there's like a Pfizer they're having a big like event, that's like a bread and butter. So but I DJ much less than I used to. I used to be like doing it much more. But after 18 years, you get a little tired.
So with the technology now, you don't do the records, right? You just do the computer?
So what happens? So what happens is that I use the computer, but I still have two turntables and a mixer. And the way the vinyl is that the vinyl will read the MP3 file from the computer and put it on the deck, and you can scratch it and mix it and blend it. So it's kind of like you don't need to plug all the vinyl, but you can have all the music on your computer and use it that way. And so I can still kind of use it on the turntables to adjust and do things like that. And I learned on vinyl, so I could take vinyl records, I could mix them together, it could sound very smooth and good too. So I could do that also. Yeah. You want to be a DJ? You want to learn? It's possible. It's possible.
Are you still teaching?
I am.
Professor?
So I'm still a professor at Cal University Fullerton. Teach 4 classes.
Okay.
A semester primarily in music business. So I teach the business of music, and also I help coach people outside of there, teach them about like musicians on how to earn money, how to earn more money. So yes, so semester ended. What's today? Today's the 18th. About a month ago. So we're on summer break now. No summer school.
Summer break. Okay.
Yeah. But I love teaching. That's the favorite thing I do is teaching.
When do you guys go back?
We go back the end of August, like the third week in August. So like I commute. I live in Vegas, but I commute to 1 day a week to teach. And then I go home.
Oh, that's not bad. Just one day.
Have you ever run into Shakisha?
Not yet, but she finally just accepted my Instagram friend request. I'm waiting. I'm waiting because I'm trying to meet some people. You know,
Right.
it's kind of solitary there. So
So you teach in California, but you live in Vegas?
yes.
Oh.
But tell Keisha, coffee or whatever, just so you can give me the 411
Yeah.
on like the city. I'm down.
Sure.
You know what part of the city she lives in?
No, I don't. I don't know. Vegas like that.
When's the last time you've been?
Probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Just randomly, and I did see her when I was there. But I don't know. She's gotten married since then and stuff. So when did you move to Vegas? I thought you were in California.
A year and a half ago. You didn't know I live in Vegas?
Okay, I might have. You
A year.
moved.
A year and a half ago. Yeah. So it's time.
And then since you work in California, do you drive?
Most of the time I'll fly. Sometimes I'll drive. I would say 80% fly, 20% drive.
And like you stay there? Do you have a place there then?
No, I'll come in and out the same day. 6 o'clock flight, Vegas to California, 10:20 flight, California to Vegas.
So how many days a week are you teaching?
1 day.
Oh.
And then the Thursday is like virtual and hybrid.
Okay.
So because I kind of, it was a quick decision. It happened faster than I anticipated.
Okay.
Moved in the middle of the semester, and I've just been there ever since. So far so good. The commute is a little bit challenging. It's hard.
Yeah.
Good time. Wednesdays I'm a wreck because I teach 4 classes too, which is more than typical professors.
Do you gamble?
It's not gamble. Stay away from the casinos. I'll go there to work, eat, no gambling. Any other questions from people or anything? No?
So R&B and country music was the top selling were the top selling genres of the 90s. Why is country music still popular even though the music is not promoted, but R&B is not?
Okay, great question. Thank you. So I think that country music is still popular because they have dedicated radio stations specifically for it, and they have a little bit stronger of a following in certain areas of the country. Also, they just adjusted to the evolving times a little quicker. I think that's one of the things that happened for country music. And they just have a really strong, like they have really strong support outside of the mainstream. Like that genre has a really loyal following. R&B does, but there was a fracture between like R&B and hip hop. And kind of record labels, I don't want to say they forced the choice, but they spent more money and energy for hip hop, which became much more mainstream. So R&B kind of took a second seat, where country's kind of in its own lane and their followers just stay there. That's my opinion, also based on research. Keep asking, that's a great question.
I think country music has always had really kind of strong, powerful lyrics. Just, you know, I would say, you know, other cultures may not have liked it or taken to it because it was really kind of a twang that was kind of different than what we were used to. But, you know, we've seen like Nelly step in and do some country stuff and other like, you know, African American Beyonce. Yeah, really strong now artists, and so it's kind of grown. But I've always, when I would do like road trips, if there was a country music song I was on, I always like listen to the lyrics, and they were always like really powerful.
Yeah.
Like love songs, but it just didn't have the beat behind it that would make you want to bop it.
You might not dance to it, but you'll listen to it.
But you listen to it.
Yeah, like what's the Patsy Cline? Crazy. That's a classic one there. I love Girl Crush is another one. I love, and then Stay by Sugarland.
I mean, I'll always love you, Dolly Parton.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. Mm-hmm. And Dolly's amazing, by the way. I spent some time in Nashville, so I have a respect and love for Nashville, particularly for country, particularly for the lyrics. Yeah. Good. Anything else? That was the one. That was a good one.
One more from online. How have you found the Fountain of Youth? And this was India from Twitch.
How I found the Fountain of Youth. So, can you be a little specific when you're referring to the Fountain of Youth? What exactly are you referring to? I mean, that works. The right way.
That is how I interpret it.
I don't know. Traveling, trying to eat right, exercise. I don't have any kids. That helps. Yeah, that helps. That would be my answer.
Smiling, you smile all the time.
Yes, I try to stay, as positive as possible. What a question. Keep asking them. Anything else? No questions for you? Music? Who are some of your favorite music artists you like?
Like Daniel Caesar.
Oh, okay. We like him. R&B. Who else?
Cole knows the artist that I listen to because he's always been with me, so he knows artists that are before his time. It's up to you.
Okay. Luther.
He knows Luther. I grew up to Luther with my mom,
Luther.
so that was hers, and so he knows Luther. Who else do you know?
So let's keep thinking. I'll come back to you. Luther. So, did you watch the documentary? Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So we're talking about, we're talking about Luther Vandross's documentary. I have more respect for the song Any Love now that I saw that documentary, because I know what it meant.
What platform is it on?
Max, HBO Max.
Okay.
Yes, you can see it there. It might be on Netflix now too, maybe. But HBO Max, it was good. Because I read his autobiography, and David Bowie believed in him before he even believed in himself, which was amazing. Because he was like, why aren't you out front? So insecure about like his weight and stuff. But the longer we go without him, the greater his legend grows. Because he was
One of the best.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Was it let me think here. I just played a song 2 days ago. It's like 111 BPM. I know the BPM. What's the name of the documentary? Never Too Much. Yes, Never Too Much. Yes, good call. That song. That was a classic one. I love what's the one he did with Gregory Hines? Fell asleep late last
I
night.
like to learn dancing with my father.
Oh, okay. So since you mentioned that one, like Luther, he got nominated for a Grammy 9 times before he won. And he finally won for Here and Now. but it really was important to him because he would kept losing. So he got a lot of resilience. Like if I were to tell you the one characteristic from all the 1,000 musicians I studied for this book that pops out, the great characteristic would be resilience. And so, because we could beat down, you had to keep coming back. He showed that because he got nominated 9 times and could never win. But he finally won for Here and Now. And then you mentioned Dance with My Father. I think that was the one he won right before he passed away. It was kind of when he was towards the end of his life. He won that one. Yeah. Okay. So what other groups? I wasn't gonna forget.
Oh, you know TLC, right?
TLC.
Well,
He
you
knows-
can't hear for his favorite.
New Edition, he knows.
You
You know it's today. Can we talk about Whitney Houston?
We can. Did another question come up?
More of a maybe topic suggestion about like what about today's R&B? There was a shout out for Muni Love and
Yes.
Philly. I guess have a good R&B.
It's Money Love. I love Money
Yeah.
Love. But see, people who don't know about her think she's new, but she's been around for a while writing hits. Like hi there. She wrote, what's the Kesha hit with Big Pitbull? She wrote that hit. And so she's been around for a while. Amazing. What's my guy's name? Luke James. Amazing. You mentioned even our guy October London, who sounds a lot like Marvin Gaye. Daniel Caesar, Khalid. So it's lots of like individual single artists, but in terms of groups, you have like Flo, a really good female R&B group, but like it's just different. Like it's more singular. SZA, her, Leela James, love Leela James.
Susan's from St. Louis.
Yes. SZA, and she's on tour with Kendrick, right?
Yeah, they
Yes.
were just here last week.
Where do they play when they're here?
They were at,
Is it the TW, wherever the football team used to play?
yes, it was the arena or the dome.
The Dome, got it, yeah. So those, so like you see, you have a lot of amazing singular artists, but the groups, you slowly take off like they did before. The money is one issue too, so yeah. Good questions online, they can keep asking. No other groups for you? He's like, about. So you want to talk about Whitney Houston? What about Whitney Houston?
No, just, some background information on her that we may or may not know.
Yeah, Whitney. I don't know much on Whitney, but I remember she used to get a hard time because she went pop and they were like she wasn't black enough and all that. But legend too, she could sing like if I watched the Dionne Warwick documentary and then some young clips of Whitney singing in that one. Whew, it's phenomenal. So yeah.
So, Bobby Brown's wife, Aletha Etheridge, was one of Jakeisha's best friends in LA. We all actually hung out together. He's married to her now.
Okay.
And she was the clarinet player in Rum Shaker.
Okay. Yeah.
That's her.
Teddy Riley,
Yep. And nobody knows that.
Blackstreet, yeah.
So now she's his manager. Wife. She went to Howard for a semester.
For any of these connections, so the next part, and I'll share this with everyone, the next part is turning the book into a documentary. And so right now, I've got a couple of pitches set up with producers so that if they like it and sign on, then we can try to get a streamer on it, whether it be Netflix. I would love Apple. They do the best work out of all the streamers. HBO Max, probably number 2, then Amazon Prime. So any connections that would connect with people who I can interview, get them on interview to get in the documentary, that would be, so just keep that in mind.
Okay.
For anyone out there too, or here, because we just keep losing people. Ananda, that one happened just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Then you have gentlemen from Cool in the Game. You have Dwayne Wiggins from Tony. Sly Stone just last week. So this time is ticking, but you don't want to rush it. If that makes sense. Yeah. So nothing wrong with it. But if I were to write another full on TLC, what happened, because they were so successful, but they claimed bankruptcy twice. There's so many music business lessons in there, and also successful music performing lessons too. Like that would be a great one to write and research. Like TLC is an excellent case study. Unfortunately, that they didn't own their name.
More than just the music.
Yes,
The whole background, the
yes.
life, the relationships,
Yes.
all of
Yes, that would be a great book
that. That would be good.
to properly write. Yeah.
Where can we find you on social media so we can keep an eye on what's coming next?
So if you go to Amani Experience, one word, that's what I am on Instagram, the TikTok, all those places. If you go to Amani Roberts DJ on LinkedIn, be sure to find me on LinkedIn. And that's where I hang out. And then my website is amaniexperience.com, and you can sign up for the newsletter. Yeah, those are the best places. For sure, yeah. Main thing will be the website and then email newsletter. Thank you for asking.
Should we get some books signed?
Sure.
Cool. Thank you so much for
All right.
doing this. If you don't have your book yet, you can grab one at the desk. And then, yeah, we'll get books signed here as well. And you're welcome to stay and browse till 8. So thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.